3 Unsettling True Frat Hazing Horror Stories by Mr. Nightmare. Yeah, man, I've heard things about some of these fraternities and colleges having some crazy hazing rituals that they do to people that join the fraternity for the first time, man. And yeah, some of them are a lot more wild than others, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I guess we got 3 stories right here that he claims are true of people who got hazed when joining frats. So we're about to go ahead and take a listen. Make sure y'all go ahead and turn y'all lights off, you know what I'm saying? And without further ado, let's get it. All right, let's go. By the way, some of y'all told me to turn on the subtitles, man, so we turning them on. I understand. I like turn on subtitles in games that I play, even if there's English.
My college years were some of the best years of my life. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy with the life I live, but my memories of those 4 years are eternal. My advice to anyone still in college: don't take it for granted, because it definitely flies by.
Yeah.
I went to a beach college. Our campus was literally right on the water. This story takes place while I was undergoing pledge with my pledge class.
Okay.
If you don't know, that's basically a full semester of initiation for everyone who got bids to the frat that semester.
Oh, pledge
Most of
class.
what
I didn't even think about
happens
that.
during pledge is better left undiscussed. Anyway, it was the last week of pledge before we officially became brothers. Typically, this is the week where the fraternity kicks things up a notch,
Okay.
so to speak. For us, it was commonly understood that at some point during the final week, we'd have to undergo the beach challenge.
Beach challenge.
What would happen?
What's that?
The brothers would drive our entire class about 12 miles down the coast on Friday night.
Okay.
Then we'd have an hour to finish a massive keg filled with God knows what. Then they'd walk us down to the beach, tie all of our wrists together, blindfold us, take our phones, watches, and shoes, and leave us there. We'd have until sunrise to make it back to the house. Otherwise, we'd all be dropped.
Wow.
To be completely honest with you, I was pretty nervous leading up to this, but there was really nothing I could do. There was nothing any of us could do.
Right?
I remember it being oddly chilly the night of, but the excitement of becoming a brother and finally being done with all this nonsense was adrenalizing.
Okay.
The kegs were the easy part. By this point, we were pretty comfortable with divvying up the alcohol and pulling trig if necessary.
Pulling
There were
trig.
15 of us. After tying us together, the brothers blindfolded everyone but Chandler, who was at the very front of the line. He was to be our eyes.
Okay.
That's all the help we'd get. Our pledge master was this big Mexican guy named Ramirez, but he insisted we all call him Los Pollos, like the restaurant from Breaking Bad.
Looking at.
Dude. He outlined the rules for us one last time, then joined the rest of the brothers and left.
Okay.
We were now on our own.
I was gonna say, I don't really understand people join frats, but at the same time, I guess I kind of do. It's the feeling of togetherness. Like, you got people to watch your back. You got people that's gonna be beside you and have your back in situations if you ever needed it. Kind of like gang culture, bro. Like, it's kind of the same reason some people join gangs. They feel like they want to be a part of something. So, you know, I guess I understand it. I don't personally think that I would ever join a frat, but hey, I've never, you know, hey.
I won't
Never been to college
remember
either.
everyone's names, but my closest friends in my pledge class were Chandler, Whitworth, Jackson, and Vikram.
Okay.
I was at the very back of the line, and Whitworth was directly in front of me. We began walking with Chandler leading us. It was hell. Without our phones, there really was no way of telling how much ground we were covering or how much time we had left.
Right.
All we could do was keep walking. At first, we tried to liven the mood by talking and cracking jokes.
Right? That's what you would do.
That got old. After what I'll call 2 hours of walking, we were trudging along in complete silence, with an occasional stop for someone to throw up. I started to disassociate.
Oh yeah, because
The
they're
sound of
drunk.
the ocean grew silent as I walked along.
I didn't even think about that.
Inside my own head.
Because I was going to say a 12-mile walk while sober, even though that sucks walking 12 miles, it really wouldn't be that bad. But they're drunk as fuck. I didn't even think about that shit.
It was completely silent. Suddenly, I felt a sharp tug on the rope around my wrists. So I took a few big steps forward and stopped, assuming Whitworth had fallen. Whitworth was a little more clumsy than most.
Okay.
This kind of thing wasn't super surprising. I didn't really have the strength nor energy to ask him if he was all right, so I just waited. I must have been standing there like a statue for a full minute. Something felt off. I was just about to say something when the rope around my wrists was pulled tight again. I resumed walking, pleased that Whitworth hadn't passed out. The trek resumed, and I drifted back into my zoned out phase, feeling terrible.
Okay.
I prayed we were closing in on the final stretch. We had to be. Just then, I took what must have been my 10,000th step. Something was different. Instead of hitting damp sand, My foot slapped the unmistakable thin layer of ocean water.
Oh?
I took a few more steps and the water got deeper, reaching up to my ankles. I was confused.
Was Chandler walking?
Would Chandler be leading us into the water?
Yeah.
The rope pulled tight again, meaning Whitworth and everyone else in front of me was continuing to walk.
Okay.
So I did the same. I guess I figured someone needed to wash off their feet.
I forgot. Everyone else is blindfolded
No
too.
one else was complaining though. I definitely wasn't going to start. The water remained ankle height for a while, advancing and receding with the sway of the waves. Just then though, I felt the water begin to rise again.
Oh?
It was comfortably around my shins. Chandler was definitely screwing with us, which for the life of me, I couldn't understand why.
Right.
Wasn't this stupid activity painful enough?
Because he got to walk too.
It was only going to slow us down. Seconds later, it began to pick up on a faint sound in the distance. I craned my ears and began to recognize it. It was the sound of an idling boat engine.
Oh?
We continued to walk. The drone of the engine only got louder, meaning it was getting closer.
Boat was coming towards y'all?
I was getting closer to it. I was starting to get really uncomfortable. The water was almost up to my knees at this point. Finally, I felt what must have been hours of unspoken silence. Guys, what the hell are we doing in the water? I waited, confused as to why no one was answering me. Guys, I asked again in a more concerned voice. Still nothing.
Man, hell
Panic
no.
began to set in. Suddenly, my blindness was suffocating. I had to look around.
Right?
I reached my wrists up towards my eyes in an attempt to undo my blindfold. As I did so, the rope yanked away from me, forcing my arms back down.
Wow.
I cursed, plunging my head down towards my fingers and undoing my blindfold before the rope could be jolted away from me again.
Okay. I'd have did the same.
Horror, Whitworth wasn't the one guiding me. Instead, I found myself staring at a random, middle-aged man holding the frayed end of the rope tied around my wrists. I stared in shock at the severed rope in his hand.
What?
That's when I realized what had done the cutting. A long, rusty kitchen knife sat in his left hand. Past him, there was a boat bobbing in the water, and I could make out 3 more silhouettes towering on board. I screamed bloody murder before he had a chance to react, yanking my arms upward as fiercely as I could. At the same time, I lifted a foot out of the water and kicked his chest with all the strength I could muster.
Damn, okay.
Luckily, the rope broke free from his grip. He grabbed my shirt to try and cushion his fall, but the fabric gave way with a deafening rip.
Okay.
He yelled as he plunged into the water with a huge chunk of my white pledge t-shirt. But I was already moving as fast as I could toward dry land, my wrists still tied. A few seconds passed before a splash from further away. Someone had jumped off the boat.
Oh, no.
I didn't even look behind me. I just kept moving.
Yeah, I'm gone.
I was about halfway to the sand when something whizzed right past my head, maybe a few inches from my right ear.
They shooting?
It was the knife.
Oh, it's a knife.
Shoot past me before disappearing into the water.
So he threw it.
I was in complete shock.
Hell no.
It was doing its job. I got to land and for the first time looked back. There were 2 men in the water and 2 on the boat. They weren't chasing me anymore, just staring lifelessly in my direction.
Bruh.
The closest man was still holding onto the white piece of my shirt that had torn off in the fray. I didn't waste another second. I ran up the beach and made it to the street. By this point, it was past sunrise, but my frat was the last thing I was thinking about.
Hell no.
I flagged down the nearest car, and after pleading to use their phone, called the police. It was no use. By the time the cops showed up, the 4 men were gone.
Yeah, they got in that boat and got out of there.
That tiny little boat of theirs.
Bro.
I lied to the cops about what happened, worried that there might be repercussions for the frat. Luckily, they didn't ask questions.
Okay.
I didn't get too much crap from my frat brothers. They were actually more pissed at Chandler for not realizing what had happened.
Hold on.
Even though he swears he didn't hear a thing.
They survived?
After that, I became a brother, and things went back to normal. Well, normal for a while. A few weeks later, a couple of the guys and I were playing beach die in the sand behind the house when Jackson noticed something in the distance.
Was it a boat?
It was a stick poking out of the sand, and tied to that stick was the white piece of cloth that had been torn from my t-shirt.
Wow.
The design on the ripped stick was unmistakable. It was my shirt. To this day, I have no idea how they knew which frat I was in. My brothers think they might have recognized the piece of my t-shirt, but I have a more sinister theory. I think it's very possible that they knew our frat would be sending us pledges on that beach that night. Helpless and blind. I think they very well could have planned the whole thing around that stupid tradition, swooping in and kidnapping whoever they could. I was just unlucky enough to be in the back, which still gives me chills to this day.
Oh.
I still wonder what might have happened to me had I gotten on that boat. The police, as always, were useless. It's been nearly a number of years.
Yeah.
I never found anything.
Okay, so I was confused at first, like, what the hell? So how did everyone else survive? But so it seems that he was the one in the back. They grabbed the rope, cut it, and was walking him in a different direction. And so the frat brothers was going, they just kept on going. It was finna get up out of there, like doing what they was normally doing. But you in the back, you got abducted from the rest of the crowd and you just happened to get lucky. Oh no, bro. What the hell? But how? Didn't Chandler in the front? He's not blindfolded, so he could see. Maybe they had a knife to him, like, don't you say nothing. I don't know, bro. Damn, I mean, they had to leave you for dead. That's fucked up. I'm glad homie got away, though. That's crazy, man. Damn. All right, that's story number 1. Story number 2, let's get it. By Slow J.
This happened to me about a year ago today, which is why I'm writing about it now. I'm a 19-year-old college student that was in the middle of joining a fraternity on my campus.
Okay.
I go to a big party school down south, and Greek life is taken very seriously there. For privacy reasons, I'll spare the specific details, but this particular night was my initiation, meaning the night that me and my class of 20 students would officially become brothers of the fraternity.
Okay.
During the process of joining, which lasts a couple of months, the brothers would make us do odd things, like blindfold us and take us to strange places.
Okay.
You know, typical hazing stuff.
Right.
This was one of those nights. We were blindfolded and left the frat house around 10:30 p.m. The brothers took our phones and drove us to a mystery location, split between a couple different cars to make sure we all got there. On the way over, they made us try and memorize some corny song while it blasted on full volume.
What the
We
hell?
always had to do these annoying tasks while blindfolded.
Gotcha.
I guess as part of the whole hazing thing. Anyway, after about 20 minutes of driving, the car stopped and I heard the doors open and close. I felt a hand grab my arm and silently usher me out of the car.
Okay.
It's probably 200 feet, where I was then told to sit down and be quiet. I was sitting on grass, so I assumed we were in a field or something.
Right.
I could also tell I was sitting near people because I heard them sit down, and I also heard the brothers telling each of them to be quiet. After about a minute of sitting in silence, I heard a voice speak to all of us, saying a bunch of fraternity-related things, but mostly about how we were deemed worthy of becoming a part of the Brotherhood.
Gotcha.
Then, over the course of like 30 minutes, I sat in silence, occasionally hearing the sound of footsteps and movement around me. I figured they might have been doing the final steps of initiation with each person individually.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
Walking them away to talk to them in private. I didn't know for sure, but being blindfolded meant I was just left to my imagination. There was a time, though, when the footsteps went away, and all I was left with were the sounds of crickets and leaves rustling through the night breeze.
That should be scary. That should be
I began
scary.
to grow uncomfortable, as it must have been like 20 minutes that I was sitting there in silence. Then suddenly, I finally heard the footsteps of one of the brothers walk up to me, and I felt a hand grab my wrist and lead me away.
Yeah.
He didn't say a word, and neither did I. I just wanted to get it over with so I could take the stupid blindfold off.
That's not one of your frat brothers.
I could feel the ground below me go from grass to more rough terrain. I could tell we were walking through a forest, and I felt branches and shrubs scrape against my body. We were walking for some time, and at one point, the blindfold became very uncomfortable around my eyes.
Okay.
I told him this and asked if we could stop for a second so I could adjust it. He stopped and let go of me. As I stood there rubbing my eyes from under the blindfold, I heard a deep, raspy voice say, "Take it off." I hesitated for a second, not knowing what to say. His voice threw me off.
That voice
it didn't sound like a voice I recognized.
Right.
Needless to say, I took it off, and what I was greeted with was not what I imagined. I was standing face to face with some tall guy dressed in all black, wearing a vendetta mask. I let a sharp yell and jumped back. A part of me thought this was just some fucked up hazing prank, but before a word could even escape my mouth, he lunged at me, yelling that he was going to take me with him.
What?
We wrestled on the ground, and I could tell that he was trying to choke me out.
What the fuck?
With all my strength, I threw him off of me, got up, and bolted in the opposite direction. Using nothing but moonlight to guide my way back.
Right.
My heart was beating 1,000,000 times a minute, and I kept looking back, fearing that he was following me. I eventually
Was he?
heard people yelling my name, and I nearly ran head-on into one of the fraternity brothers.
Yeah.
I told him in scrambled, broken words that some random guy wearing a mask led me into the forest and tried fighting me. But before I could warn them any further, 5 or 6 of them rushed past me with flashlights looking to chase after him.
Okay, they're gonna beat dude ass.
With me to calm me down and walk me back to safety.
Yeah.
When we made it out of the woods, I realized we were in a backyard, presumably one of the brothers' houses.
Oh shit, okay.
I saw nearly the whole fraternity standing out on the porch, looking at us in shock. I asked them what the hell was going on. They said that since it was dark and that I was the last in line, the brother who was supposed to be escorting me somehow overlooked that I was there and completely forgot about me.
Wow.
A couple minutes later, one of them thought they saw movement in the woods, which was around the same time that they realized I wasn't in my group. I was in such shock I couldn't even be pissed about it. None of them knew who that man was, but some of the brothers speculated it could have been a brother from another fraternity.
I'd be mad as hell.
Shortly after, flashlights emerged from the trees, and I saw them running back towards us. They told everyone to get the fuck out of there and get back to the campus immediately. He didn't ask questions.
Right?
They locked up the house, and one of them got on the phone with the police. The whole car ride back, I was bombarded with questions, and I answered them the best I could with my mind still racing.
Bro, what the
I
hell?
wondered where that man came from, why was he wearing a mask, and what he could have been leading me to. I made up scenarios in my head, like how it could have been a brother from a rival fraternity trying to steal me before I was initiated.
Looking
That
ass.
doesn't explain why the brothers locked up the house and called the police.
Right, that don't even make no
I didn't
sense.
find out until the next day, when one of the brothers who ran after him told me what they found in those woods.
Oh?
What they found was not what I expected. As they were running, they saw a light in the distance. They grew silent, and when they got closer, they realized it was a bonfire in the middle of a clearing.
Okay.
Standing around the fire were several people dressed in all black and wearing white vendetta masks, chanting and throwing things into the fire. One of the brothers stepped on a loud branch, causing all of the masked men to turn and face them. They froze up, like something straight out of a horror movie. The mysterious men suddenly started running in their direction.
Bro, fuck
They
no.
fled and made it back, where they told everyone else to leave and call the police.
That would be scary as shit.
As though we somehow walked ourselves into some cult ritual.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that's a
of some
cult.
sort. I couldn't sleep for many nights after, and I tried my best to rid my mind of the situation.
Goodness.
However, something that I heard from the fraternity a few days later sent shivers down my spine.
What?
While a few of them were playing football in the backyard of that same house, they found a white vendetta mask hanging from a tree nearby.
Oh.
They called the police, and the cops took it for evidence and examination. I'm not sure if those guys were ever caught or if the police even made anything of it.
You think DNA would be on
Also,
it?
not sure what the hell those weird people were doing in those woods. I've been thinking about this experience a lot recently, and I'm glad that I was left with nothing more than a crazy story.
Yeah, bro, that could have been bad, bro. That could have been bad. And the dude that was walking you to his cult, I don't even know why he stopped and let you adjust your blindfold, bro. He could have just said something like, "No, we're almost there," or something like that. Even if it would have been a voice you didn't recognize, you might not have questioned it. I don't know, bro, but glad it went the way it did and you got away, man. Hell no, they try to take you to a cult, bro. They're gonna throw your dumb ass in the fire. It's probably gonna eat you. Some goddamn cannibals or some shit, man. It's some crazy people on this planet, bro. That shit is ridiculous, dog. All right, man. We got one more story. Story 3 by Malnak. Malnak. However you say the name, goddammit. Story number 3. Let's go.
It's been 8 years since I graduated from college.
Okay.
I went to Cooper Union, a small technical school smack dab in the middle of Manhattan. Going to school in New York City was amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Okay.
We didn't have many frats back then, so I was sure to join whichever one I could just to ensure that I'd have parties to go to and whatnot.
Head ass.
Relatively normal kid, so it wasn't too difficult to get a bid. Most of the pledge events were pretty tame, but I would soon find out what they were compensating for.
Oh?
I hope I don't get in trouble for divulging this story, but it happened so long ago that I figure it's safe to talk about.
It's probably not even,
I doubt my old frat is still making their pledges even do this.
Exactly.
I certainly hope they aren't. Anyway, the big thing that we do during our initiation was a subway crawl. I can't remember where exactly this was, but
What?
There was an old abandoned subway station that teenagers would typically explore. Our frat would make us enter from one of the active platforms, walk to the abandoned one, take some pictures, and then continue to the next active platform.
Okay.
We'd been given subway schedules to ensure that there was no chance a train would come around while we were vulnerable.
I already know where this is going, man. Fuck
get
no.
onto the abandoned platform, wait for one train to pass, and then make it to the next station. I know what you're probably thinking, but no, we didn't have to run from a train.
Nah, I wasn't thinking that.
It was planned pretty well, and we all had a lot of leeway when it came to traversing the track.
That'd be
All we
stupid.
had to do was avoid the dangerous third rail and we'd be okay. I
Okay.
had been a big fan of urban exploring before college, so this was honestly more exciting than nerve-wracking for me. It was some random weekday at like 3 a.m. when our frat brothers made us go down into the subway. I'm pretty sure they picked this time because trains were very infrequent and we'd be protected at all costs. There were about 10 of us. I'm telling you, it was a pretty small school. You don't need to know everyone's name, but I should mention that my closest friend in my pledge class was an Albanian dude named Riker.
Riker,
He's the
okay.
funniest guy you'll ever meet. My friends and I always said he should try and do stand-up comedy.
All
He
right.
also smoked a crap ton of pot, which is important for this story.
Head ass. Okay, so he was high.
Our way into the subway unscathed. Riker and I brought up the rear because everyone else was too scared to do so. It was really dark in there, and our frat brothers had only given us 2 flashlights to share. Those flashlights and a single cheap film camera were all we had.
Okay.
At first, I was entrusted with one of the flashlights for being in the back, but I quickly gave it up to one of my pledge brothers who was whining about not being able to see.
Oh my goodness.
Not even 30 seconds into the walk, and Riker had his first genius idea. He pulled out a pre-rolled joint from his jacket and grinned, motioning for me to stop.
Look at him.
"Share," he whispered, flicking his head in the direction of the other guys who hadn't noticed what we were doing. Against my better judgment, I obliged. Heck,
Oh
when
my
was I gonna get
God.
the chance to light up in a subway tunnel again?
Head
The
ass.
2 of us smoked while we watched the other guys travel further away from us, their echoing laughter beginning to fade out.
Y'all let him get too far.
The pot. We were a considerable distance behind the pack. Riker's stuff was really strong, and I found myself a little more absent-minded than I wanted to be. My
Okay.
tolerance was definitely not as high as his.
Right?
The 2 of us picked up the pace to catch up with the rest of the
To
group,
be expected.
but Riker noticed something in our way. We didn't have a light, so all we could see was the silhouette of someone in the dimly lit
Neither one of y'all
tunnelway.
dumbasses had a.
I strained my eyes a little more. There was definitely a person in there, just standing motionless in the middle of the track, facing
Why,
us.
bro?
It was honestly a little creepy. "David?" called Riker, his voice piercing the silence of the tunnel. The person on the track didn't respond. Just then, David's voice called back to us from further up the line. The 2 of us froze.
Of course
The
not,
person in
bro.
front of us was a stranger. As if David's voice was some kind of switch, the person on the track started full-on sprinting towards us.
Oh!
The 2 of us turned around and bolted back the way we came. Being as high as I was, I felt like I was going to have a panic attack.
Right?
The figure's sprint was eerily silent, as if we were being chased by a shadow.
Oh, hell
It
no.
must have been impossibly light. Riker's grip on my arm tightened, his goofy confidence completely gone. "Faster," he hissed, the fear in his voice mimicking my own. I
Boy.
had some time before the next train came, but running in the wrong direction just felt wrong. Riker must have thought the same thing, because he frantically pulled me to the side, motioning for us to cross the divider onto a different track.
Right?
In hindsight, we probably could have continued running back to the original station, but I was so high that I just followed Riker blindly.
Right?
We made it across the divider and sprinted back in the direction of the abandoned station. Things were even more terrifying now, though. We had literally no idea when a train was going to barrel down towards us on this track.
Right?
At least we were heading in the right direction. I hoped Riker's maneuver was enough to shake whoever was chasing us, but apparently it wasn't.
He was still
Whoever
chasing?
was behind us also crossed the divider and kept running after us.
Bro!
Problem was, there were only a few places where the divider could be crossed, so we'd have to pray we found another one before a train came. Turning around to the one we just used was no longer an option. My heart was thumping, but Riker and I were able to widen the gap between us and our pursuer.
Okay.
We kept running though, looking for a place to cross.
Yeah, you gotta get out of there.
Good luck. Riker started cursing repeatedly, and I started feeling like throwing up.
Ain't
Kept
time for
running,
that.
Still searching for a place to cross. Just then, the track started vibrating.
Oh!
Beginning to poke
Oh!
a train was coming.
No!
Screwed. I considered turning around and just fighting whoever was behind us, but then Riker screamed right here, running toward the divider.
Oh.
By some miracle, the next crossing point was right in front of us, and the two of us crossed back to the original track.
Okay.
We sprinted like another 30 yards and caught up with the rest of the guys who were on the platform.
Oh, shit.
Riker explained the whole thing while I leaned over and threw up.
Huh.
Not even 30 seconds later, the train on the other track zoomed by.
Fast as fuck.
Riker and the rest of the guys were ready to confront whoever was chasing us. No one showed up, though. We thought the worst, but just then, we heard another crazed yell from somewhere in the distance.
Oh?
To this day, I still have no idea how that person avoided the train. We waited for the train to pass on our track and then sprinted the hell out of there.
They parkoured their way up the wall or some
We
shit.
just encountered some homeless guy who was drugged out and might not have even posed a threat to us.
Maybe not.
Fear took over in that moment, though, which I guess explains the stupid decision we made to cross over the divider. I'm sure the two of us also could have fended that guy off, but I'm glad we didn't.
I was gonna say, they probably could have beat his ass. That's what me and the homies would have tried to do. Hey, man, at the end of the day, them boys got lucky, dog. If things didn't go exactly how it went, they'd have got crunched by that damn subway train. It'd have been over with for them. Oh, man. Yeah, the situation definitely happened differently. First of all, I would not have gotten that far away from the other brothers. I just wouldn't have let that happen. Like, y'all want to smoke weed so bad? No. And then second of all, the dude running toward us, I don't know. I would have had to try to like look back and try to see if he had something on him. Because if it's two of us, bro, if you ain't got nothing on you, we fucking you up. But I don't know. Then they crossed the divider, bro. Like, oh my goodness, they almost got fucked up by that train. But I'm glad they was able to get away. Man, these frat stories was all, I thought these frat stories was gonna be like people in the frat doing shit to them. But this was just shit happening to them by outside parties while they were doing initiations and shit. So I guess that's a real possibility too, bro. So, yo, be careful out there, man. Shit, like I said, shit like this probably don't even happen nowadays, but you never know. Hey, man, that's gonna do it for this scary video, though, bruh. Make sure y'all show a lot of love to this video. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one. Till next time, we up out of this thing. This is what Dairu, we signing out. Hey.